Hey, Mr. Sherman here, and we're going to make an app to to keep track of our stats throughout a basketball season. So, as I always say, a few different ways to do it. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start with a horizontal arrangement, and what I'm going to do at the very top of this app is where we're going to be able to enter in our game stats. Then we're going to display the average throughout the season, and down here, each individual game's stats. So, the first thing I'm going to have is I'm going to have a label, and this is going to say uh, date label. And I'm going to just say date. And what I'm going to do is right next to that, I'm going to put a date picker. And this will allow us to pick the date. So what I'm going to do, set this to center, set this to center, and you'll see that makes everything right here in the middle. I want this to start off just saying select date. And we're going to set up so we can select the date, keep each game separate, all of that. All right. So I'm going to then grab a vertical layout, and I'm going to put this entire thing into the vertical layout. And make sure you're grabbing the entire thing, not just one of the components. I want to grab the entire thing, put it in here. I'm going to Control C, Control V to copy and paste it. I'm going to get rid of this date picker because we don't need this now. And I'm going to add in a text box. And why is this being, let's get it like, so sometimes you just got to play around with it a little bit, but you can get it to work. So let's set this to fill parent. Let's set this to fill parent. And this is going to be points label. And this is going to be where we're entering our points entry. So I'm going to call it points entry. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to check numbers only because we only want to be able to type numbers into this. And I'm going to, one more time, Control C, Control V, duplicate. And now this is going to be rebounds label. Rebounds entry. And I should probably go through and make sure these say the right thing. Says this do not points. Rebounds. Boom. And we're going to do assist down here. Assist. So assist label. If I could type label and assist entry. Cool. So this is where we're going to be able to select the date, select the points, select the rebounds, all of that. And I'm actually going to go ahead, put everything in the center. That looks a little better. That's kind of annoying that rebounds is the longest. So what we can do, that doesn't make it look any better. I'm going to just leave that automatic. Whatever. I'll get over it. You can play around with it, make it look better if you want. I'm not too concerned. So right underneath of that, I want to display the averages throughout the season. So I'm going to grab a horizontal arrangement, and I'm actually going to use, and I'm going to make a little kind of like title row at the top, a row at the top displaying what each thing is. So it's just going to say points display label points, and I'm going to make this probably a little bigger. It's going to be rebounds display label. Set this to be fill parent. Center it out. And assist. Oops. Let's. And we can go through here and we could set these all to like 33% so that they all take up an equal amount of the screen. And we can go like center, center, center. All right, then right underneath of this, I want a place to display the season's averages. So this one's going to be points average, points per game, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be average rebounds per game. I'm going to just call it average rebounds. And then you guessed it, average assist. And what I'm going to do to display each individual game is right underneath of it. I'm going to put a list view, and this is where we're going to display all the individual game stats. This is going to be Phil Parent. And as always, I kind of like to play around with these colors. So let's do this one like that. Can do like so. And I'll leave it like that for now. That'd be good. All right. Oh, and I almost forgot. We need a button in here to be our entry button. So why did that just make this whole thing small? All right, we'll do that. And we're going to call this add game button. Add game. So every time we click this, we're going to add in whatever stats we typed in to our list. So let's go over to blocks. First thing I'm going to set up is after I select a date, I just simply want to display the date I chose. So we're going to say we're going to need a few of these. I don't think I got enough, but we'll set it up as we go. So I'm an American, so we're going to display months, day, year. If you're one of my friends from over the pond, you can do something else. So month, day, and I was one short. I need one more. Year. And I'm simply just going to grab one of these so I can put commas in between all of them, or slashes, I mean, not commas. And boom. So after I set my date, just simply tell the date picker, display that date I just selected. Now, all we got to do is we got to set up our add button. Where is it? Add game button. So when I click my add game button, I'm going to have 3 lists keeping track of all my stats. So the first list is going to be my points list. And I'm going to have a rebounds list. And I'm going to have an assist list. So every time I click add game button, I'm going to add to my points list whatever I have typed into my points entry. I'm going to add to my rebounds list whatever I typed into rebounds entry. I'm going to add to my assist list whatever I typed into my assist entry. So I always like to then clear out whatever I typed in. So it's clear. I hit add, all this got added to my list, and I'm going to go ahead and say set the points entry text to just 0. I'm going to say set rebounds entry to 0. Set the assist entry to 0. So all we did is if we type something into one of those text boxes, we push add. We're going to add these to our list and then just blank out the text box. Set it back to 0. The thing I always want to make sure we're aware of, these variables are invisible. These lists will have data in it after we click add, but we're not displaying it anywhere. We're not doing anything with it. What I want to do is I want to display it down here. First, I want to calculate the average, then display it all down here. So, oh, and I almost forgot. I will need a 4th list keeping track of dates. Date list. And all I'm going to do, same thing. Date list, but instead, I'm going to do whatever is in my date picker text because I set that text. So you see, if I select a date, update the date picker text with that date. And then if I click add whatever date that is to my data list. So I should probably, something very similar to what I'm doing with all the text boxes, I should probably set this back to just like select date. So now if I click add, I'm going to add things to all these lists, but then again, nothing's happening with them yet. So let's first calculate the averages because that part's going to be easy. So I'm going to actually do this in a procedure, and I'm going to say calculate points per game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another variable called average points. It's not going to be a list. We're just going to initialize it to 0. And all this is going to be, it's going to be, first here, I'll show you. So I'll do it this way. We're going to use a for each, and we're going to say for each point in the list, total points. We're going to set total points to total points plus each item. For each game score, total points plus the game score. Boom. So this is how you can reference each thing in our list. This for each is going to start cycling through this list. If I have one thing in here, it's going to look through here once. If I have two things, it's going to look at both of them. It's going to go at, let's say I have 2 games. First game I scored 1 point. It's going to go in here. Okay. Total points is 0. Add 1 to it. Boom. Look at the next one. Total points is now 1. Add 2 to it. But just cycles through your list, adds everything up. One of the things people always forget is this doesn't zero out on its own. So before we do this, let's make sure we have clean data. Let's make sure we have good data and we're putting it back to 0. So every time we hit add, we're going to call this procedure. We're going to set this to 0. We're going to total all our points up. After we total all of our points up, I'm simply going to set average points to total points divided by the number of entries in my points list. Then simply say average points dot text equals average points. We can do almost the same exact thing now to calculate rebounds per game. So now we're going to have average rebounds, total rebounds. Average rebounds, total rebounds. We're going to say total rebounds 0, game rebounds, and our rebound list, total rebounds, boom. And average rebounds, total rebounds. And technically all these lists should be the same length, but I'm going to be thorough with it and just make sure I'm pointing at the right list. And then now, average rebounds, average rebounds. And then make sure you're calling that. And be the same exact idea for the assist. I want to show how we're going to get all this information into our list picker down here, though. So this list picker, all this thing does is it displays a list. Or list view. I'm sorry, I called it a list picker. List view. All this list view does is display a list. So we need to make sure we're going to set the list to display. So I'm going to actually make another procedure. Call this build display list. And all we're going to do is we're going to look through all 4 of these lists, combine them together into one, and then tell this list view to display it. So we actually need a 5th list now. And I'm just going to call this display list. And this is what we're going to be displaying down here. So now we got to build it inside this. So what I'm going to do, very similar to this in a way, is I'm going to cycle through one of my lists. And it does shouldn't matter because they should all be the same length. And I'm going to add my display list. Each I'm going to look at each section of this list. Actually, I'm not going to use a for each. I misspoke. My fault. I'm going to use one of these because this will give us access to the index. So we want to go from 1 to the length of, and I'm just going to say date list for now. So now we're going to grab this add to my display list. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a join block. And we're going to say the first thing we're going to add to our list, look in our date list at this index. And I'm going to add one of these in. Then I'm going to say, okay, next thing, look in our points list at this index. Look in our rebound list at this index. You guessed it, one more time. I think, yeah, doing through assist. Look through our assist list at this index. So that will build this list. Very similar to up here. Let's make sure before we even do this, though, we're working with clean data. And let's make sure we're setting this to be an empty list. And let's call that procedure. So this will allow you now. You can type in your points, rebounds, assists. You hit add game. It will automatically calculate all of these and then display each individual game down here at the bottom. You could convert this to work for all sorts of different types of sports. I just did basketball here, but I think baseball could work fine. I mean, even like bowling, golf. There's ways you could convert this into all sorts of different types of apps. But I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoy it. Have some fun with it.